So I'm going to create a very simple decision tree in Palisade PrecisionTree, which is one of the applications, the add-ons or the add-ins in Excel that is offered in Decision Tools by Palisade. And in this video, I'm going to create a very simple decision tree using a very simple decision that involves a level of uncertainty and has a very simple state of nature, just to illustrate the process of making a decision tree in PrecisionTree. Although most decisions would be more complicated than this. It's just to illustrate the point. If you see at the top, you have your ribbons at the top. If you don't see PrecisionTree there, it means that you've opened Excel, but you haven't opened PrecisionTree, so that's why it's not showing. You must click on the PrecisionTree icon, which will then open Excel and add the ribbon. If you try to open Excel first, you won't see the ribbon there. So you must make sure you open Excel through PrecisionTree, not the other way around. And so we see these ribbons here. I'm just going to look at these different icons today. I'm only going to build a decision tree. So I'm going to click, first of all, this icon here, the decision tree icon, and I'll select my cell, in this case A11, click OK. And I will start a new worksheet. I'm not going to adjust any of these defaults because I'm building a very simple tree. So I'll just click OK. And I've got my tree set up. I'm going to change this node now. This is an end path node, but I have to change that to a decision node. My primary decision in this case is going to be whether I'm going to hire employees for a project or hire a contractor. So I have the option of hiring 2 new employees, or else I hire one contractor. Okay, so I'm going to name my branches here, hire a contractor, or hire 2 new employees. Okay, and then here beside values, this is where I enter my costs. So remember, costs must be valued in negative numbers for the decision tree to calculate correctly in PrecisionTree. So in this case, hiring 2 new employees, let's say hypothetically, that's going to cost me an extra $10,000 on my project. And if I hire a contractor, it might cost me $15,000 for the one contractor versus hiring 2 employees. So a little more expensive. So we'll start with that. So either I hire 2 new employees or I hire a contractor. That's my primary decision. So I will click OK. And as we can see now, the square node, which represents the decision node, is there. And then I'm left with, to the right of the decision node, my net path node, which I need to change now because I've analyzed this decision and determined that I have no more decisions to make. I simply have a state of nature. And the state of nature would be whether the employee, the 2 employees, or the contractor is going to quit the project. So let's say hypothetically, that would be my state of nature, whether these employees quit or not, and how much that will therefore cost me. So I'll click on the NetPath node, and I want to change that. Just left click on that and click that to a chance node this time, which is the circular node. And here by default, I have 2 branches. If I wanted to add a 3rd branch, if I had 3 different possible outcomes or 4 or 5, I can just click plus, add as many branches as I want. And if I decide I need to take them away, I click the X, the red X button. So we'll just keep it simple right now for the sake of illustration, and we'll go to 2 branches, which is that the employees quit or the employees stay for the duration of the project. And let's say we've determined from information about past projects that this type of a project has a fairly high likelihood that the employees will quit, and we'll give it a 50-50 chance they'll quit and stay. I'll leave it at that. By default, Palisade PrecisionTree is 50-50, and you can change those values. But you just have to make sure that your values all add up to 100, whether you have 2 or more, you need to add up to 1 or 100%. So if they quit, I'll say that if they quit, well, what would happen? It would mean that I would have to hire new employees to replace them or pay existing employees overtime to do that work. So I'll say that hypothetically might cost me $2,000 in costs to either hire new employees or schedule overtime. And if they stay, of course, there's no cost. Cost me nothing. So 50-50 chance, I'll go and click OK. And you'll see that that will change that to a chance node with quit or stay. And my values here, which can be changed. You know, if I decide I want to change this to 60-40, if I made a keying error, I can just click on this and type in 60. Oops, type in 60%. And I can change this value to 40. You'll see the values here are showing errors because I don't have 100% allocated to this chance node. So I'm going to change that down to 40. And then the values will correct themselves. If I'm going to go back and change my mind back to the way it was, I just click in 50% again and type in 50% down here again. Click enter. And my values will change again. Alternatively, I can click this node and I can go right back to where I was and change those values. Okay, so instead of having to do that all over again, I'm going to copy this over because I know that hiring a contractor faces the same state of nature. If, however, hiring a contractor had no state of nature, I could leave this end path node as it is, and the hiring the contractor has no state of nature. It's simply that the contractor will work for the duration of the contract. Okay, so in this case, let's say that there is a chance that the contractor may quit. So we'd have to analyze that decision with our project management team, and we would determine that there is a chance the contractor can quit. In this case, and it's happened in the past, I don't need to recreate this node and do that extra work. I can simply right-click on this node, and I can go to copy subtree, click that, left-click that, and then I go and right-click on this node, and then I'm going to paste that subtree right here. Click OK, and it will duplicate the node exactly. Now, of course, I have to change the values in the decision tree because the probability of the contractor quitting is not the same as the employees quitting. So I'm going to change that to, let's say, 30% chance and 30-70 split. And then, of course, the last thing I look at is, well, would it be the case that I would still incur a cost of $2,000 if the contractor quit? So I'm going to say that's a reasonable assumption that the cost would be the same. I'll either have to hire employees, new employees, or hire a contractor, or pay some employees to work overtime. Either way, I'm looking at the process of looking for a new contractor and the cost of that. I'm not looking for the cost of the contractor itself. It's just the process of looking to hire a new contractor to replace this one. So I'll say that that's a reasonable argument that it would be a cost of -2,000 for both. So I'll leave that the same. So as we can see here, based on that, if we look, our value here is false, which is calculated by PrecisionTree, and true here. So we know clearly that the decision node matches with our decision to hire 2 new employees. It's the lowest cost, and therefore our decision to hire new employees is the correct decision to make in this case. And of course, if I wanted to go back and change any information here, I can just click on anything that's in black. Anything that's in black is representing inputs that you have flexibility over. Anything that is shown in color format represents formulas that are calculated in PrecisionTree that should not be changed. So you have the flexibility of changing those. Now, what I want to do, of course, is present this information to, my project management team or a sponsor or client. And this is not the appropriate format to do that. Although you could send it in an Excel report if that's something that would be part of your risk management or communications plan. most of the time you want to integrate this into a presentation and or a report of some kind. And Decision Tools offers a better way to present this information that looks a little bit more professional, a little bit more impressive. However, before I do that, okay, it's only going to show me everything that's seen here. My model, my model in that I'm going to export into a higher quality image of this will only show what is seen here. And if you look at this decision tree, if you didn't watch me create this decision tree, I would want you to be able to understand the decision tree completely without me having to explain it to you. And that means it needs to be labeled well. It needs to be labeled to the point where anyone reading it could understand it. And this is not labeled well. The reason why it's not labeled well is we look at this. Let's go back to this chance node and this chance node. Our label is chance for both of them. It does not describe what the state of nature is. So we need to go back and change that before we export this decision tree. So I'm going to go and change that. I should have done that initially, but I didn't do it. But that's okay. We can go back and change that. And what is the state of nature here? The state of nature is chance of quitting during project. Okay, the chance of quitting during the project is a state of nature. So we want to be able to indicate that so that it's very clear what we are talking about when we add this to a report. So I'm going to go click OK, and you're going to see now that it is changed. I can expand this a little bit so it's a little more easier to see. Chance of quitting during project, and I'll do the same down here. So I'm going to change that to chance of quitting during project. I'll just copy that over. Chance of quitting during project. And click OK, and it'll change that for me as well. All right, now if you look at this, let's look at our primary decision node. Decision, that's not descriptive enough either. So I forgot to go and describe that when I initially did this. That's okay, I can go back and change it. And so the primary decision here is hire or contract. So hire employees or a contractor. I like to put a question mark after any decision because it is a decision you have to make. There's more than one option. So just to, I know that the nodes, the square node indicates a decision node, but I find it just reads a little better when I add a question mark so I know that the decision has to be made. And so it's not a state of nature, and that is quite clear. Green means decision, green square means decision, but I like to add that question mark just as a one more opportunity to make the decision tree as clear as possible. So what am I missing in this decision tree? What needs to be changed? Well, it's the name of the decision itself. Okay, so the decision itself, right now it's named as just new tree because when I started the tree, I did not name the tree. So that's one thing I forgot to do as well, but that's okay. We can go back, and we always want to make sure we audit our decision tree to make sure everything looks okay before we export. And as we can see here, I did not change the decision tree. I did not create a name for this decision tree when I initially started. So that's okay. We can go back and change that as well. Okay, so here we are. It says name and it says new tree. That's the default of Palisade PrecisionTree. I'm going to change that to hiring decision. Okay, so this is a hiring decision. And I'll click OK, and it will change the name to hiring decision. And it looks good now. Our tree looks really good. Again, this is not something we would likely present to a sponsor. This doesn't look professional enough. It would be something that we would share between our project team or maybe a risk management team or estimators, but we would not be sending this to a sponsor. So we can view this and export this in BigPicture. BigPicture is another add-on in Excel from Palisade Decision Tools that can be used to create influence diagrams and graphical representations of decision trees, etc. So it's for that purpose. So all we do is go to our precision tree ribbon here, and you'll see View in BigPicture, which is a purple icon. And we simply click that, and then wait for BigPicture to load. And it's going to say hiring decision. That's our decision tree we want to export. And I'm okay with displaying an interactive workbook. That means it'll just add another tab. And it's going to now build a decision tree. It's going to open BigPicture as another tab or on top of our ribbon in the top of Excel. So I'm just waiting for this to export our decision tree. It usually takes a bit of time, not too long, depending on how long your decision tree is. This is a very simple example, so not too long. By default, when you see your decision tree initially, it will be compressed. So you will see in a moment when we see the BigPicture version of our decision tree, the decision tree is compressed. Okay, and I'm just going to expand this a little bit. So the decision tree is compressed, and in order to expand the tree, we need to go to the BigPicture tab, which has been created here in the ribbon. So BigPicture, and then we click on collapse or expand to right here. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to go no topics uncovered. I want to see everything the tree is representing. Okay, so now I need to zoom out, and I will zoom to, let's say, 100%. Want to be able to make sure this all looks correct. And it looks good. And BigPicture also highlights the correct path with the lowest EMV with a yellow highlight. So it's even more clear which is the correct option. So you can see adding the question marks for decisions makes it just a little bit more clear that this is a clear decision we have to make. And having those descriptions really comes in handy where when we are going to give this to a sponsor to be able to read it very quickly. It's very clear what the data represents. Okay, so everything's good. It's just now we need to get this product of our precision tree in BigPicture actually exported into a PDF that we can use to integrate into reports. So one last step, we're in BigPicture, the tab. Now we go to import export here on the right side of the ribbon. So click that, and we want to click export. Okay, and we click export, map to PDF. And it's going to create a beautiful PDF. We want the entire map to be exported, so click the entire map. I want everything to show. And it's going to now generate a PDF for us, which we can save. So I'm going to save this as my primary decision was to hire someone, so I'll call it hiring decision. Precision tree, decision tree. You can call it whatever you want. Okay, so it's going to save that, and then it will open it in a PDF. You want to make sure that it exports correctly. Okay, and voila. So our report has now been saved into our decision tree has now been saved in the system, and a PDF has been created, hopefully on my desktop here. So let's just take a look. There it is right there. Hiring decision precision tree file has been created, and we can see here Here it is in Adobe as a beautiful PDF that we can use for presentations, for reports, for whatever we choose to use it for, and in a much more professional looking and easy to read version for project sponsors or clients. So I hope you enjoyed that video and learned some basics about how to use PrecisionTree to develop decision trees and integrate that with the BigPicture function of Palisade decision tools.